10 centimetres. Pretty impressive. Good evening, I am Toby McGee and welcome to the all-new, all-woke, all-male reboot of The Struggle. Tonight's episode is full to the brim with creatine, testosterone and enough whey powder to sink the Titanic. Which is not a girl movie, by the way. We've also got 20 minutes on men's mental health, fishing and a killer segment on emotional unavailability. So sit back, that's all coming up.
What are you doing?
Sorry, Mrs. Struggle.
Tony!
I can go.
Get out! Tony, I swear to God, Tony. Tonight on The Struggle, we force British colonialism to its knees, bring our railways back to their former coal-burning glory, and reveal a sexy new career change for Ida Buttrose. Stick around for all that. But first, let's stay in this seductive mood with Peter Dutton. Last week, the angel of death himself proposed a landmark referendum asking if we Australians should give politicians, rather than judges, the authority to deport criminal dual citizens. This policy on the run caused division in the party, with opposition members first hearing of it through media reports, and what's being described as a new Trumpified communication strategy from the Liberal leader. Befuddled Shadow Treasurer Angus Moneyman Taylor told ABC Radio National a referendum was not in our policy at this point in time. The biggest issue with the proposed referendum would put government power above the judicial branch. Dutton, alongside gal pal Jacinta Price, have vowed to eliminate wasteful government spending, but by splashing out around $500 million on a yes-no referendum, might need a second look at that one, eh, Petey? Numerous struggle-aligned Liberal sources saying the proposed referendum contradicts their electoral strategy of portraying the tuberous Mr Dutton as a fiscally responsible, cuddly little teddy bear. But what do they know? They're only staffers. This referendum is open to you, the public. So call the number on the screen throughout tonight's program for this season's first Struggle phone-in poll. And let's answer the question, what do you think of this proposal? But enough of that tripe. It's news time. When our overexcitable cadet Toby overheard plans to make a budget cooking show, he misunderstood a well-intended cost of living segment to be a metaphor for the federal budget due to be handed down tomorrow night. The footage you're about to see is the unfortunate reason lunch was not catered on our set today. So what is the government's recipe? Toby kind of reports.
And now it's time for Toby's Metaphorical Kitchen. Brought to you in stunning VHS, the future of video.
Hi, welcome to my metaphorical kitchen. Did Cyclone Alfred prevent you from calling the April election you wanted to, and now you're stuck scrambling for a last-minute budget recipe? Well, this perler from my mate Dr. Jim Chalmers is the solution for you. Tonight, I'm going to show you how to make a nice budget meal with an aroma of deficit. And don't worry, you'll be able to make this again and again and again. To make this dish, you will need chicken stock market, the layers of an onion, an advanced understanding of economics. Now I do hear you. If you don't have an economics degree, it's okay. Beef will be fine. Just make sure it's beef with a major trading partner. We'll also be using a few $1 billion. Tonight, I'm using a cut of AUD that the Reserve Bank cooked up for me earlier out of thin air. Finally, a nice bottle of wine. Tonight, I'll be going for a lovely deficit red. Yep. Start by tax breaking your onions into the pot and add in a glass of wine for the sauce and a glass of wine for the cook. Next, add in your chicken stock market, equal to roughly one measure of meaningful cost of living relief. Now, a common question I get from people like my mate Jim Chalmers is, Toby, a cyclone came through and blew a $1.2 billion hole in my pasta. And if this happens to you, don't worry at all. All that you're going to do is pour in maybe another glass of wine for the sauce And definitely a glass of wine for the cook. Reduce your debt, or source, down to about 30% of your GDP. And then, let's add in the beef. Now let that simmer until ideally after the election. But if you're really in a pinch, you can't let it go any further than I'd say, roughly tomorrow night at 7:30. And there you have it. A beautiful meal that's budget friendly and according to complex economic theory, won't technically break the Reserve Bank.
See? See? While you sit and stew in that, let's now turn the corner to the F1. The Melbourne Grand Prix ended with the richest man in the most expensive car winning, but little thought is ever given to these cars themselves. If a car with 1,000 horsepower breaks a leg, does that mean it gets put down with 1,000 times the power a horse would be? How do you turn a car into glue? Bailey Johnston hit the streets with a gallop to find out.
Many people call it the race that stops the nation, but we like to call it the race that deafens it. The highly anticipated Formula One kicked off here in Melbourne last week, boasting a record 465,000 punters, betting, drinking, and getting tinnitus. With British burnout bandit Lando Norris taking out first place, the race was one of chaos and carnage, with 6 drivers crashing and unable to finish. I mean, who would have thought that an event containing 6 rookies, the youngest barely able to go for his P-plates in Victoria, plus an ungodly amount of rain, would become a spectacle of crashes, collisions, and heartbreak. But this made it a great day for the spectators, who were gifted the thrill of seeing car crashes without the guilt you get from rubbernecking accidents on your way home from work. Unlike the horse races, they don't put up a privacy screen. You get to witness everything. But there is a dark side to these grandiose spectacles. As you can see here, while car jockeys, or drivers, as they're commonly referred, usually get away from these races with their bodies intact, the same can't be said about the poor cars forced to race against their will. We have Struggle exclusive access to one of Melbourne's salvage yards, where you can see the horrifying results of car racing. What we're about to show you is considered graphic. Viewer discretion is advised. This car over here used to be a McLaren driving for the F1. However, after it suffered a broken leg, its owner left it abandoned. It's planned to be euthanized in 7 days. This one used to be a Ferrari. It was abandoned here by NASCAR after an incident where it crashed into the bollards. Reportedly, its guts were hanging out of its chassis and it had coolant leaking from its eyes. Do you think this car will ever be able to drive again?
No, she's fucked.
As you can see, while the drivers get the glitz and the glory, the cars are left mangled and gory. Back to you in the studio.
Revving our show back to life now as we hook turn from one sport to another. Media darling Leo Roboto has this week been tumbling down the matrices of our national sporting code. The incestuous relationship between the Geelong Football Club and its sponsors has long been an open secret in the media sphere, but only this month has the AFL begun to cotton on. This and more coming up on Leo's Sports Wheeze.
In conducting
sextennial
audit of the Geelong Cats' finances, the AFL has stumbled into a veritable blanket of deception concerning the club's sponsors paying players outside of their salary cap allotment. It's nothing new. The league's modern history of illicit third-party payments is a shady and secretive one. Longtime Carlton captain Don Chris Judd received $250,000 a year from packaging sponsors Visi in exchange for the use of his enormous head 30 days of the year. Questions persist about former Caps captain Joel Selwood over an alleged deal that may or may not have seen him profit from major sponsor loans like some kind of land-based loan shark. The Geelong Football Club has long enjoyed a boundary-blurring relationship with its major partners, but it was the transfer of heartthrob Bailey Smith from the Bulldogs to Geelong that piqued the interest of the whatabouting football hoi polloi. Smith has been an ambassador and alleged designer for rag traders Cotton On since 2022, raising questions over the true motivations of his 2024 Peninsula pivot. Head coach Chris Scott, himself Chief of Leadership and Performance at Morris Finance, another Cats major partner, defended Smith's alleged payments, telling journalists not to jump to conclusions. But we did, and we did some digging around. Turns out the rest of the AFL is being left behind when it comes to vertical sponsor integrations. Luckily, our in-house business development team have floated a raft of potential new ideas. Collingwood's Darcy Moore will serve as an advisor to His Highness
Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan
of Dubai for the remainder of the season. North Melbourne's players should be obligated to offer Mazda drivers 24/7 comprehensive roadside assistance. Fremantle captain Alex Pearce should this year be appointed head of creative mining operations at major partner Woodside. Hawthorn's Nick Watson should be paid $400,000 a year by the Tasmanian state to cast protection spells warding off goblins and boggarts. Hungry Jacks should be paying Eagles star Harley Reid in tips and chips to pick up spare shifts at locations around the Perth area. I could go on, but I won't. It's clear to see that the plasma of financial impropriety flows thick through the blood of the AFL. And the only inoculation? A generous spoonful of more football.
Bianca! Pardon me. We'll just check back in with our live referendum phone-in poll. And still no responses. As we go to our ad break, I'd like to remind you that at The Struggle, we truly appreciate all of our viewers' opinions. So grab that handset and get dialing. The phone lines are open. Welcome back. As the Swedish philosopher Abatheus once said, money, 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 it's a rich man's world. In Australia, we relate to this on a political level, as our major party leaders have a thing for splashing out on real estate. To investigate the relationship between politics and making a profit, we sent Emma out to question potential investors.
Is Australia entering its meme coin era? It's no secret that Donald Trump is a crypto fanatic, releasing his very own Trump coin ahead of the presidential inauguration. But how much influence does Donald really have on Australia? With the federal election approaching, we think now is the perfect time for political meme coins to take off in Australia. Who do you think will be the first Australian politician to release their own meme coin?
I think it's fair to say that it'll probably be Albo.
Clive Palmer.
It would be a toss-up, actually.
Yeah.
It'll be Clive Palmer. Can you call him a politician?
Really? I've got no idea. Damn intros.
Or Barnaby Joyce, because
Barnaby
he's a bit of a weirdo and he'd probably do something like that.
I'm thinking he has that edge about him that, most politicians, a little bit of an ego, we're not going to lie.
Part of the deal.
And I think, even direct retaliation to Trump's whole meme coin, it's like maybe that would be, his next move.
You've heard it here first, strugglers. The next big investment opportunity might be coming your way. Back to you, Laura.
Interesting. Thank you, Joe Public, for that financial input. Moving along, in the wake of major beef between the United States and pretty much everyone, the French have called on the US to return Lady Liberty. Is there a statute of limitations on statute possession? Sasha has the story.
Given the questionable demonstration of democracy from the Trump administration, French politician Raphael Glucksmann has demanded that the United States return the Statue of Liberty to France. Glucksmann has expressed his immense concern that Trump has in fact said FU to the values of freedom, liberty and democracy that the statue is supposed to represent. It seems that his comments have paved the way for other countries who are now making their own set of demands First to lead the charge is China, now calling for the return of several giant pandas currently residing in the US. Trump is known for hiding away from the consequences of his actions, but with the United Kingdom requesting the return of the iconic Resolute desk, what will he hide behind now? Italy is issuing demands regarding pizza consumption in the States, calling for pizza hybrids like the deep dish and New York City slice to be removed from the country. Oh no, they don't want them back. They just want them gone. Back in Australia, our politicians are looking into rescuing one of our many A-list celebrities currently residing in the US. Albo is calling for Neighbour's biggest success story, Margot Robbie's return. And Dutton is saying that we'd have one less problem if Iggy Azalea came home. Here at The Struggle, we'd like to throw our hat in the ring and suggest bringing back Bianca Censori. Well, there it is, folks. Will Trump return Lady Liberty, or will he call upon the right of no takesy backsies?
Funnily enough, I actually lent Mr. Trump a vaginal sheath at a Hamptons shindig back in the 80s. Never got it back from him though, that miserly old pumpkin. I guess now's my chance. While I begin mentally drafting a text with all the passive aggression of a high school English teacher, a sooty news story is just chugged across the desk. Raucous protests have halted trains across the city. We've got the protesters on the line to tell us what it's all about.
Good morrow. Bartholomew and Kokomoto Steamhurst, at your service.
What's behind all the train traffic?
Well, I was rendered aghast mere days ago after witnessing the explosion of an e-bike at Union Railway Station. All from a pesky modern vehicle, might I add.
Oh, look at that thing. Just came out of nowhere. My wife had quite a fright. An ion lithium battery powered bike when you can just pedal the old-fashioned way? They spent longer developing new trains than it takes me to balance on top of my penny farthing, by Jove. Look, there I am. Yes, back in my day, steam trains were wonderful, pristine.
Yet freezing in the winter.
Trains are once used by proper, honest members of the community. But now look who sullies the platforms. Ruffians of no regard for decorum or dignity. Oh, how far we have fallen. I don't care that these trains are faster or safer. I want to smell the asbestos from the brakes.
When one could be as antisocial as we wanted without those boys in blue getting involved.
I'm sorry, but what does this say about e-bikes?
A woman discussing such immodest vehicles as a push bicycle.
From running trains to running trains. Queensland's National Party has introduced a new incentive for young people to get their rocks off. The Struggle's hardworking investigative team found an unaired National Party ad brought to you by the lovely Matt Canavan.
Well, hello there, me dewdroppers and drugstore cowboys. I'm Senator Matt Canavan. Never heard of me? Well, that's why I've come up with a fertile new policy just for you, to get me some attention and you some action. I'm selling you Matt Canavan's baby loan scheme. They say you should never mix business with pleasure, but pleasure in politics, well, that's a match made in heaven. Youngsters out there, are you struggling under the weight of the cost of living crisis? What I'd like to call the baby bank has you covered. Are you family oriented, in need of some quick cash, youthful, white, hopefully, and sprite? You might be walking around with a fountain of untapped potential for temporary wealth. For a limited time only, I am offering a low interest loan of $100,000 to young Aussie couples looking to deposit a few sticky ropes into the old peach bank. What's that? They got to be buying their own first home. Right, okay. No, yeah, we'll save it for the T's and C's. If you're thinking about us on the ballot, just wait till you're thinking about us in the bedroom. T's and C's may apply.
Welcome back, silly sausages. Melbourne weather. What a bipolar she-devil. First it's a raging storm and then it transitions into a bright sunny afternoon. However, the weather has been more topsy-turvy than normal, with rising sea levels, bleached coral and my sunburns getting worse each year. All this, it seems, has failed to convince climate change deniers that they may not be the smartest fish in the sea. Our struggle climate expert Alex Coolaguy has some stern words for those flat earthers.
God, it's been hot recently. Dare I say, hotter than last year. The first month of autumn is nearly through, and we've had way more days than last year where the temperatures have soared well above 30 degrees Celsius, and I'm tweaking. You know, I was really looking forward to putting on my fluffy long-sleeved clothes and protecting myself from the overstimulating world and its judgment, but everyone's just decided to suffer from heat stroke without me. It does make you wonder whether or not the heat that we're seeing outside is transferring into those climate deniers' thick skulls, the idiots. Climate deniers. They exist due to the media's frick-up of presenting climate change like it's a two-sided argument. Climate change is science, and science is the research for objective truth. You can't put your opinion in the objective truth. So, knock knock boneheads, here is an objective truth for you. Murdoch Media has a small composition of lead in it, which is why, when you consume it, you feel a little dumber. And I'm in a lab coat, so you can't argue with me. Here's a lesson in science journalism. Don't fuck with science. Some things you just have to accept, like how the sea levels have risen 4 inches since 1993. That's a length I am familiar with. So, while the sea levels rise, don't believe the lies.
Yes, science!
I think it's time we check our phone-in poll again. Still nothing? Come on, guys. There's got to be at least 2 of you watching. Ugh, I don't care anymore. March 14th saw Melbourne's metaphorical pot well and truly stirred as Belfast pro-Republican band Kneecap had a rather unusual guest on stage at their last Melbourne concert. The guest of honour, King George V. Well, not all of them, just his head. We contacted the head for comment, but the interview proved to be a little stone-faced. Before its debut on stage, the head has been spotted circulating social media as the main course at a classic Australia Day barbecue, spotted taking a dump, and even seen floating down the Yarra River. With Kneecap's strong anti-colonial ideology echoing in their music, plus their popularity skyrocketing here in Melbourne, it's not hard to see why King George's head turned up at their show. It seems as if the RBA is following suit, as they have gone ahead with new design proposals for the $5 note, switching monarch portraits for something a little more original. Our resident big thinker Amy has some thoughts.
Whether Australia should transition out of a constitutional monarchy into a republic has sparked many debates over recent years, but it all seems to run into a wall. People often say that it's the journey that's more important, not the destination. And whilst I believe that this is just a cop-out for us not getting our shit together under the various incarnations of the Republican movement, and whilst I believe that this has actually helped us recognise our colonial past, I said recognition, I didn't say we actually did anything. But out of a huge breakdown can come huge possibilities. Since 1992, Queen Elizabeth II has graced us with her presence on our pink $5 bill. This note with Liz shaped contemporary Australian culture with her ability to transform into a whale sucking a fat one. Like a character from the Animorphs series that scared us growing up. Since Queen Elizabeth's passing, there has been scant mention of King Charles replacing her on the $5 bill. Maybe he doesn't give a rat's ass, or maybe he just doesn't appreciate cock jokes. But what we do know is, he doesn't crack a mention in the Reserve Bank of Australia's proposal for a new $5 bill design. Instead, the RBA wants submissions that display First Nations' spiritual, physical and emotional connection to their land. A full 180 of the classic Australian bootlicking trope. The RBA wants the $5 note to show the overturning of terra nullius, the term the British coined to take land for themselves. The British have always loved taking things for themselves. Kylie Minogue, a quarter of our national flag, Rolf Harris's corpse. Actually, they can keep that. And whilst Australian banknotes and coins have actually displayed First Nations people and native plants and animals since the 19th century, it is rather unusual that the RBA is wanting to explore an Australian history that makes quite a few white Australians shiver in their R.M. William boots. Irish Republican band Kneecap's anti-colonialist stance has galvanised their audiences. Many young Australians no longer want to support a family that visits like that mysterious relative you see at family reunions, who grabs your cheeks and comments on how big you've grown. Back to you, Auntie Laura.
Speaking of stealing, our local cashed-up bogan has stolen her way into the studio with some cost of living relief measures and choice words about youth crime.
You can't even go to your local shopping centre without being afraid for your life, without worrying that a 14-year-old might pull a machete on you. These ratty little kids are running around and they're scaring the life out of us. We need tighter, tougher bail laws and restrictions. Stop giving out bail, get them into jail, enough crime. Ooh. I'm trying to get an example for you. Look, see this? This is a friend of mine's son.
Kate says her son is one of the teens terrorising the city. He's accused of home invasions, high-speed car chases, assaults, all while armed with machetes. There's nothing.
It's no joke, is it? It's no joke at all. That's where we're at in society. That is where we're at. Oh, shh. Like I tell my boys every day, actions have consequences. But do you think these little TikTok thugs care? No. They're just trying to swirl up attention. They need to be taught. They need to learn a lesson. Like I say, it's bad behaviour. Shouldn't be doing it. Seriously. Yes, calm down, calm down. You what? Don't tell them anything. Don't tell them anything. Yes, call your father and he'll call his mate and we'll get it sorting out. Yep, no. I'm coming now. Yes, don't stress, honey. Yep, don't say anything. Does Legal Aid have Afterpay?
Before tonight's program droops closed, let's check in one last time at our phone-in poll. What? Still zero? I've just been informed that our program does not air live and in fact shoots 5 days before airing. Thanks for letting me know sooner, assholes. And with that, from me, Laura, good night and good luck.
What you trying to do?
I'm turning 16.
Productions.
In association with
Antalon.